Couple weeks ago, I was on a road trip and I was coming back through Atlanta on my way home. I was ready to be home, actually, and I just couldn't wait. And I got almost into the city, and oh my goodness. I mean, 6 lanes of traffic. You'd think it's going to be flowing really, flowing and going, And there's one section I get to, and the freeway basically just goes to a standstill. It is like ridiculous, crawling. And I'm wanting to be home, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what's going on? And there must be some massive crash. And I got up finally to the problem after about 30 minutes of delay. And I noticed that there's this one little car that's sitting over on the side, and it's just pulled over for, who knows what reason. Maybe they're stopping for snacks. I don't know. Nobody was changing a tire or anything. It's just pulled over on the side of the road. They got the whole freeway backed up. And it just really made me think about this idea of it doesn't take a lot to slow down the whole deal. It just one little obstacle can really slow down what we're trying to do. And so welcome to the podcast. This week we're talking about the barriers to high performance, some of the obstacles that get in our way. And man, I listed out 10 of those, and I think they're going to be helpful to us as we think about reaching our goals. Now, the last few weeks we've been talking about focus. It's been a cool little series that we've been doing. Lots of good comments and feedback from those of you who are listening. Thank you for that. Thanks for subscribing. Those of you who watch on YouTube, thanks for that. And continue to help us spread the word. If you're on Spotify or iTunes, wherever you listen to your podcasts, thanks for helping us spread the word as well. I hope you'll continue to do that. Hit that like button, leave comments. If you've got questions for us, send those to us. We'd love to hear those. But we've been talking about focus. And if you go back to the first week, I kind of gave you this target, this bullseye target to help us think about this idea of focus. And on the outer ring, we said really to get to that bullseye, we've got to start with our number one goal. And so we've been talking about trying to identify 5 to maybe 7 things. Let's don't get up to 10 though. Let's go 3 to 5 things that we're saying. These are the most important things. If I could get these done over the next year, or even if you wanted to shorten that over the next couple of months, things I want to do by the end of the year. And you could put those on paper and say, I'm getting these done, but you got to write them down. I mean, I think there's so much power in writing it down. It's awesome when we do that. But then I wish this could happen. I wish we could snap our fingers and one of them would be true to start with. But if we could do that, and which one would you pick? That is your number one goal. That is the one that you want to go after first. And so we said we've got to once we identify that, we've got to unleash energy. We want to make sure that it's getting massive amounts of energy. And then last week we said that you really got to commit time. You got to get massive amounts of time on task to help us take those baby steps even, but baby steps still make progress toward our number one goal. Well, it's not enough to have, the goal identified and energy, you're going to start down this road and you even put time on it, but you're going to find very quickly that there are some gremlins that are going to try to keep you from being great. There's some things that are going to try to get in your way and they're going to pop up. And if you're not careful, you won't know why you're not making progress. But today we're going to identify some of those things that become obstacles toward our goals. And honestly, as we build this next ring toward our bullseye, we're gonna get to the bullseye next week. But as we build that next ring, it is this idea that we've got to overcome those obstacles if we're really gonna get to where we're gonna go. Now, for me, I had the app on my phone and it's saying the traffic's gonna be here, but the side roads aren't any better. You're better to just kind of wait it out. But it'd be great if we could give you, ways for your life, and it just says, here's an obstacle, stay away from this, and if you'll detour around, you can get to where you want to go. It's not the way it works, but I think identifying these things really is very helpful. And so let's start with maybe the biggest one of all. This might be our biggest obstacle. It's kind of where we left off last week, but it's this idea of time wasters. There are so many time wasters, and you don't need me to tell you this. You've heard this before and you experience this probably every day, but so many time wasters. We get on a website, we're looking for something, we're trying to get some information. Technology's great. Love Google, get on there, go for it. But the next thing you know, you're down this rabbit hole that's 3 layers away from what it was you're really going after. And so technology can be a tremendous time waster. Social media it can be such a time waster for us. And so nothing wrong with social media, but we got to be careful that we don't allow it just to suck up massive amounts of time. Remember last week we said if you got intention on one side of the seesaw and you don't have any action, you just got a bunch of time being wasted, you're not going to be successful. So you got to put massive amounts of time into the action side, and those time wasters get in the way. So that's one of our obstacles that we really need to overcome. So the question I would have for you is, what are the time wasters in your life? They're probably different for you than they are for me. Maybe there's some that are similar, but there are some things that are major time wasters for you. And when you look at those, you give an hour a day to something that's really trivial. Over a year's time, that's several weeks of your life that are just being wasted away. And as well as I do, an hour turns into 2, turns into 3, and the next thing you know, we've just lost half a day. One of those blocks of time that should have been for our goal has been given to something that's just, again, trivial. Here's another one, negative people. I think this is a big obstacle when it comes to achieving your goal. And it's just one that kind of drives me crazy. I'm sort of an optimist. I'm pretty positive, just really all the time. I'm believing the best and thinking that we can do things that sometimes we can't even do. But oh my goodness, when you start trying to do something great, or you start trying to chase greatness and be great, you're going to find that there are negative people, there are critical people, there are people that are going to throw water on your fire, maybe it's just a spark, and it doesn't take a lot to douse it out. And so I want you to pay attention to the negative people around your life. And honestly, the best thing some of you could do for your goals would be to get away from the negative people. Don't listen to those negative voices. There are going to be people that tell you can't do that. You don't have enough money. You don't have enough talent. You don't have enough skill. You don't have enough resources. There's no reason to even do that. Why does that even matter? There'll be all kind of critical things that you will hear. Negative people, there are people who just say, we're not allowing you to do that. And you've got to decide, if this is your most important thing, it's getting your time, your energy, your focus, and you're not going to listen to those negative voices. So that's number 2. I mentioned the third one a moment ago, but I'll talk about technology a little more specifically here. You think about email and social media and all the ways that technology becomes a time waster. Maybe it is the major time waster, but I wanted to name it itself here. And maybe get you to think about this week, like, what are the technology places that I don't need this? And I'll give you a little thing that you can do here. I did this several months back, maybe 18 months ago when COVID first hit. I found myself off the road a lot, and maybe more on technology than I ever had been before. And I was watching lots of news and all kind of stuff just there for a couple days, and I found myself just feeling like, A, the news doesn't know what to tell you, and B, I felt just everything was so negative and so like the world's ending and all this kind of stuff. It was just like, this is not good for me to listen to this, especially if I'm trying to be a positive person. And so I just deleted every news app off my phone. I got to a point where I thought, if something important enough happens in the world that I need to know about, I've got enough people around me, somebody will tell me about it. And, I've stayed pretty up to date on what's going on. And so for me, it really was like, let's just delete the news apps off of our phone. Let's turn on, there are certain devices I've taken apps off of those where I don't have access. When I'm with this piece of technology, I want to be focused on what it is I'm trying to do. When I'm over here on this piece of technology, it's okay to do something different. And so I don't need all access everywhere I go. There are email accounts I don't have on my phone. I don't have on my iPad. I've got them on my computer. And so, it's when I'm ready to go and work on those things, I'll go there. And when I'm not, I really don't want to be distracted by those things. And so technology, email is just one example. News may be an example for you. Social media may be. I don't know where your temptation is, but I'm guessing that technology can become an obstacle for what it is you're trying to accomplish often. Another one is, this kind of sounds obvious, but I just want to name it again. Just naming these is just busyness. It's just like just constant hurry and flurry of activity around us. We say all the time, it's important for us to not confuse activity with accomplishment. Accomplishment, go back to your number one goal, look at it. It's written down. I hope you've written it down. That was our step from week 1. But as you write that down and you look at that and you begin to put energy into that and you commit time to it, busyness is anything that is really not related to the things that matter most in your life. And so let's make sure that we don't let busyness become an obstacle. Your schedule does not have to be full to be effective. Your schedule does not have to be full to be effective. For some of us, we're just like, beginning of the day, the end of the day, and we just go constantly. There's never any space to think and plan. Intention, we talked about last week, we don't need to give it the most weight, but we do need to give it some weight. We've got to spend some time thinking and planning and strategizing, and then we've got to spend time on the action side of things. And when we do, we're going to really be headed toward the things that we're trying to accomplish. But if we let busyness get in the way, literally, there'll be a blur going on around us all the time. There's always something to take up your time. And I heard somebody say one time, if you don't tell your time where to go, somebody else will. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. So busyness can definitely be one of the obstacles that we've got to overcome if we're going to achieve what we're trying to. Here's another one, difficulty. You say, what do you mean by difficulty? I just mean sometimes what we're trying to accomplish is hard. And we've got to just suck it up and say, you know what, this is hard, but it's going to be worth it if it's really something that's, risen to the level of being my most important goal. And so when things get hard, that's when you got to get tougher. That's when you got to get focused. Even more. And so don't let difficulty derail you. I heard a leader say one time, there is doable hard and there's destructive hard. We're talking about doable hard here. There are things that you're able to accomplish and able to overcome that if you're not careful, you'll forfeit your emotions. And the next thing you know, it's just gotten hard and you say, I'm tapping out. And that's really not, the way we want to act. We want to make sure when things get difficult, we get tough, and we're able to move forward. Here's another one. I'm guessing some of you out there, this is a big obstacle to your goals, your dreams, whatever it is, and it's this idea of procrastination. Procrastination. We are just so good at putting off what we know we need to be doing. Some of you right now, you've got something you've been putting off, you've been putting it off. You even wrote it down, but you still haven't taken any action toward it. You haven't committed any time to it. No energy gone into it yet. It's just written down. And it doesn't really do you any good to write your goals down and stick them in a drawer somewhere in your desk and never give any attention to them. So again, we've got to give focus to these things. And if we're not careful, we end up wishing our life away, or giving our life away. Again, I like the idea of forfeit. It's like we didn't even show up for the game. I remember when I was a kid, we had a couple of games and the other team didn't even show up. It's just, I'm like, what is going on? And the coaches come over and like, they forfeit, we win. And I'm like, we didn't win anything. We didn't even play. And some of us are struggling to win in our lives because we're not even showing up for the game. And so procrastination will make us do that. We'll just put it off. It's the classic, I'm going to wait till Monday and I'll get started on my exercise plan or my reading plan or my project I'm trying to do, whatever your goal is, whatever area. I'm going to wait till Monday, and then Monday comes and you're like, well, it's only 4 days till the beginning of the next month, and so I'm just going to wait till the first day of the month, and then I'll start. And then you get to the first day of the month and you're thinking, well, this is not a Monday, so I need to, I'll wait till January. The next thing you know, we've just wait, and we never do anything because we keep procrastinating. So procrastination is, it's killing our dreams. It's killing our goals. Let's make sure we don't put things off. Let's go back to what we talked about last week. Massive amounts of action every single day, time on the task of that number one goal. So procrastination becomes an obstacle. Distraction becomes an obstacle. Distraction. We can start to work on something. We initiate. We get in there. We're going, and we begin to go. And then the next thing you know, while we're in our action, something distracts us. Something, we get a phone call or we get a text message, or we get an email, and all of a sudden we're off the task that we need to be on, and we're on to this. And studies show that it takes us, I think, what is it? I think I read it. It's like 20 minutes to get refocused back on our thing. And we get, how many distractions an hour do you get? So it's literally like we just go through the whole day corporate distraction going on all the time. And so I just want to encourage you to eliminate the distractions. Turn the email off. Turn your phone off. Put it on airplane mode. Whatever it is, you gotta lock yourself in a room and say, I'm gonna get focused on this right here, one thing. Nothing else is even coming in the room with me or wherever you go. I mean, you maybe need to go outside somewhere away from the people and say, I'm going to focus on this task that I have that's going to take me one step closer to my goal. Those distractions are coming at you. Just wanted to remind you that if we're not careful, we'll give in to the distractions. We'll just live a distracted life, and a distracted life is not a great life. And so let's be aware of those. We've got to overcome distraction. A couple more here. A lack of resources. Sometimes a lack of resources can be one of our major obstacles. We have this goal, this plan, something we're really trying to do. And I'm just going to tell you, winners find a way. There's maybe some things you're trying to do that you really don't have the resources for. Either go raise the resources or change your aspiration, because you've got to be able to marry those up and match those up. And I think a lot of times we think we can't do something because we don't have what we need to do it. It'd be like me trying to, do something handy around the house, which I'm not very good at all. But I can tell you this, I get a lot better when I have the right tools in my hands. And so for some of you, you're trying to accomplish something and you don't have the tools that you need. There's somebody that can probably help you. There's somebody that can loan something to you, or you may have to go raise the resources to make it happen, depending on how big your dream is or what it is you're trying to do. But let's don't let lack of resources become the obstacle that just bogs down our freeway toward our goals. We want to make sure that we are headed toward where we want to go, and we're not allowing anything to get in the way. We want to continue to pursue. And I got a couple more here, and I want to just land today with this kind of reminder that you have a secret weapon that can help you overcome your goals. And so the last two, the first one is what I would call failure. Failure is so many times it's an obstacle. When I know I want to accomplish something, but I've failed in the past. I couldn't, I didn't have what it took, early on. And so I just let that become the barrier for me ever dreaming that something could happen again. And I go all the way back to, I remember when I first went to college. I've shared this before, but when I first went to college, I started out in remedial English. I couldn't even get into an English class, which was it's pretty sad. It said a lot about me as a student when I was in high school. It said more about me as a student than it did my teachers, for sure. But I couldn't get into the regular English class, and there were 7 or 8 other students in the class who couldn't speak English either. They had a great excuse, though. They were all from other countries. I was just what I say, from the country. I was like, it just was terrible. And my teacher, thankfully, believed in me and helped me. And the next thing you know, I started making progress. And so for me to be able to write and speak and all those things that I've been able to do for the last, 30, 40 years now has been pretty cool. But it never would have happened had I allowed failure to, I don't want to use bad English there, had I allowed failure to derail me. And so I want to make sure that you name your failure. There are things that you have failed in the past, places where you've failed in the past. And if you're not careful, you can allow those things to cause you to never want to try again. And so if you're struggling right now to go after your number one goal because you're afraid you'll fail, that growth mindset that Carol Dweck talks about in her book Mindset versus a fixed mindset, it's kind of rooted in this, if you think about it. So this idea of failure, we can't let that happen. And then the last one is kind of related to failure in a way. I mean, it's definitely an emotional obstacle that we have to overcome. But it's just what I would say is discouragement. And I want to just remind some of you right now, you are very discouraged. You've had a really hard year, maybe year and a half. Things are just not going the way you thought they would. You had some goals. You wrote them down maybe early on in the year. Some of you may have even gone through our course, 21 Days to Your Best Year Ever, which if you haven't done that, I'd encourage you to get that course. It'll give you a great framework to help you. But for some of you, maybe you even went through the course and there's some things going on in your life right now and you still feel discouraged. There are circumstances outside of you, beyond your control, things that you really have no control over. almost like the weather, right? You have no control whether it rains or, you have control whether you live in the, on the Arctic tundra. I mean, it's going to be cold if you live there, but there are some things about the weather you just can't control. But for some of us, we are allowing discouragement to control us. And so you're in a hard situation. Maybe you've even chosen to be in a hard situation. And so here's your secret weapon. Your circumstances are on one side and you're on the other, and you're battling against those circumstances all the time. You're always in a fist fight against the things that you can't control, because there are some things that you can't control that really are hard, and they're holding you back, and they're keeping you from where you want to go. Well, here's the secret weapon. You have your attitude, you have your emotions, you have your perspective, and they're going to play for one team or the other. They're going to be on your team, and it's going to be 2-on-1, you and your emotions and your positivity against your circumstances, or you're going to forfeit your emotions or allow your emotions to be on the other team, and your circumstances and your emotions now are 2-on-1 against you. And if that's where you are going to be so discouraged, and it's going to be so hard, and there's going to come a point where you're just going to say, I can't do this. Ultimately, your attitude and your emotions are totally under your control. You're in charge of those. And no matter how hard things get, and let's face it, there have been a lot of people who've gone through some really difficult, hard stuff, and they've kept a great attitude. They've thought correctly, had the right perspective, and they've been able to overcome unthinkable things because their attitude joined up on their team with them and was able to attack those hard circumstances. Think about a Navy SEAL who's going through Hell Week trying to overcome, and they can either ring the bell or they can finish the deal. There aren't many who make it, but there are some who are able to overcome. They're able to achieve the dream of becoming a SEAL because they allow their emotions and their resilience and their perspective to be on their team against those circumstances that are really hard. I mean, we can't even, you may be able to, but I can't imagine how hard that is to overcome that. And so I can tell you this, if you are discouraged all the time and you allow discouragement to, it'll take you out of the game. You do not want that to happen. You're going to ring the bell in your life or on your goals if you're going to allow discouragement to be on the other team. So you got to get it on your side, make sure that perspective and that attitude's right. So those are some of the obstacles that are against you. They're there all the time. The time wasters, the negative people, the technology, the busyness, the difficulty, procrastination and distraction, failure, lack of resources, and then ultimately maybe discouragement. We're just forfeiting, the things that really could be ours. And so if some of those obstacles have your freeway of success, maybe just one of them, it just takes one little thing to get in the way, can back up the whole interstate. I experienced it firsthand. And some of you in your life right now, you are really experiencing you're just paralyzed when it comes to your goal because one of these things is in your way, or maybe you got several of them in your way. So here's my homework for you. I'll give you, next week we're going to do our last episode on focus, and we're going to talk about the key to getting to that bullseye. But before we do, my homework is this. I want you to spend some time this week. You might go ahead and just schedule a half hour on your calendar and take out a legal pad, take out a pen, and maybe you go back through this episode with some notes and just say, okay, what are the things that really are obstacles between me and really what I want to accomplish, what I'm trying to do, what my number one goal, if you will go back to the way we've been talking about it. And if you can identify that, you can write that down. Ask yourself this question: what would I have to do to remove that obstacle or to overcome that? Maybe I can't remove it. Maybe it's a circumstance that's beyond my control, but what would I have to do to overcome that obstacle so I can go straight to the center of the target, to the middle of the bullseye? If you'll do that, you're gonna make your path a lot easier to greatness. So keep chasing greatness, keep doing what you're doing, keep helping us spread the word. Thanks for all the comments and the things that you're sharing with us. We love the encouragement. We're trying to help you, and it really helps us for you to share with your friends and hit that like button and subscribe, all those things. So keep doing that. And let's make sure that we don't let anything get in the way of what we're trying to do. You really do have greatness in you. you really do have some good things that you're trying to accomplish and you want to do, but there are going to be some barriers to high performance. And so it just naming them, seeing them, going after them, and overcoming them are going to put you on the road where you want to go. All right. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you guys next week.